Welcome to the Best Practices for PAQ Provider Test Section Workflow in 8.3. Today we will be reviewing some workflow suggestions, troubleshooting tips, setting custom rules, and walking through the Provider Test Action template. Today's demonstration, we will not be using PowerPoints. It will be a demonstration within NextGen. We will first begin by opening up our PAQ on the taskbar. Once we open our PAQ, we will start by reviewing the items from the pending panel in the PAQ. This is your pending panel. One of the features available to you is the ability to sort the items in the PAQ based on description, patient, date, and time. Up here at the top, there's your description, date, and time, and you also have a panel for the patient. I'm going to do my best to hide all patient information so that we don't display anyone's name and date of birth. Okay, so the way to sort them best is if you wanted to sort by date and time, you could select the panel and it would sort the date and time for you. If you had multiple items in here, we could sort them so that they would kind of group them together just so that you could get, maybe if you had scanned images in here and documents, it would sort them and you could easily go through them based on the grouping. In the preview panel to the right hand side of the screen, you will see the results of whatever you have highlighted on the left. If you have an order for a patient highlighted, those results will then appear on the right hand side. So here you can see I have highlighted a patient's lab results. Those results now appear here on the right hand side. If you open an order, you will have some selections at the top of the preview screen that you can change the view to accommodate your needs. This is what I'm referring to up here at the top. The option to show normal results with an N flag, this will allow you to place an N next to all of the orders that are normal, so the values may stand out a bit more. So what you could simply do is if we selected this, it would then take the values of all the lab results, and it would, if they were normal, right here under flag, it would place an N like this in that value should that result be within normal range. Show compressed results to show additional information in the results, such as LOINC codes, performing entities, medical directors, and specimen if this information is available. So if we were to select the show compressed results, what we would be able to do is if there were LOINC codes, which are codes that we add on the back end, if there was a medical director, specimen information available for the particular lab result, that information would appear on here as well. But currently that isn't. All right. One of the next things is the MU compatible button. It would show the results in a view that would allow the results to be broken down and given additional information specific to MU, such as date and time, status, and that's kind of what I already have done here. So it's kind of broken it down for you so you have additional information on the screen that you more than likely wouldn't have within just a normal view. Refresh option, it allows you to refresh the screen should a change be made to a panel, like when you were actually working on it, you could refresh it. The print option allows you to print the results as well as select the print options in which you could change the width of the headers, the margins. It's kind of a nice feature. If you see the little drop down right here next to print, you can go down to print options and you can change. This is set to do auto width, but if you wanted to create a custom width, maybe if you wanted to make it a little bit maybe smaller or bigger, if you wanted the units to have more character space, the comments to have more character space, you have that option here. The header options, you could decide if you didn't want certain things to appear. You know, the name, address, date of birth, and sex is automatically defaulted. But if you wanted maybe the patient's MRN or, you know, maybe the order date, that information, you could have those appear on the results as well. The fax option actually allows you to fax directly to an outside entity from your PAQ. So if you wanted to send results maybe to the patient's physician who isn't within TPMG, you can click the fax option and send a fax to them. The copy feature allows you to copy the results for future pasting should you need to paste them maybe in a note in the patient's chart or somewhere else. The Select All allows you to select all the text in the results view. It does pretty much the same thing as the copy. The one thing it does is this just takes the text out. So it doesn't take, the copy will actually take all of the grid lines and the color schemes, but the Select All will simply just take the text. The Setup option, which is over here to the side, there it is. It actually allows you to set up the results to show certain critical ranges. So the ranges that come across on your reports, those are specific to what maybe the lab has as a critical range. But maybe you want to set up ranges for certain vendors. Maybe when Orchard or LabCorp comes over, you want to see certain ranges for those particular labs. You can set those up, and those ranges are specific for you. This is kind of a nice feature. And at the bottom of the preview, this is your comment box. So for those of you that have been working in your PAQ for a long time, you probably put a lot of information in this box. And you can put as much as you want in here. I do believe there's up to 1,000 characters. You can put all that information in here, and if you click Add, it will then add those results to your lab itself. Now, the document, no, it doesn't show up on the document, but if you're viewing it within the Orders module, I'll be happy to show you where you can go and view those comments at. At the bottom of this panel, you'll also notice you have 3 tabs. You have Formatted Results, which is the result in which we're viewing here. You have Grid Results, and what this actually does is break it down into a grid format. And you have document images and URLs. So what you could do is, if there were documents maybe associated to these lab results, then they would appear on here as well. Or if there was maybe a URL you had to go out and view something, you could do that from there. All right, so in order to place a comment on the results, again, you must just simply come over here, put the comments in the box, and select Add. And if you need to refer back to these comments, it easily can be done through the Orders module, which I will be happy to show you now. So I'm just going to look up a random test patient. Maybe. There we go. And in the Orders module, you're able to simply, there's an option at the bottom that you can go and you can view the comments. So here's your results. Once you come down here and the results are actually here, you will have a place that says Results. Here they are. Results is underneath your Orders tab. Results and sign-off comments. So all of your comments that you've made in the PAQ are here as well. If for some reason you open this up and maybe you see something that you didn't see before, you can add new comments to this directly from the Orders module by simply coming down here, adding those phrases in, and click on Add Comment. All right, so one of the troubleshooting tips that I am going to show you is if you find that there happens to be sometimes that you're not able to view certain items, like let's say, you find that you're not getting any lab orders or lab results to your PAQ, the best thing for you to do is always make sure these boxes down here are checked. Sometimes they can get unchecked, especially the orders box. If you're down here clicking accept, it's easy to uncheck this box. And if that's the case, what will happen is if you notice I've unchecked it and I've refreshed, I now have no ability to see any of the orders. So that's not a good thing because, you might miss lab results. And all of a sudden, when you refresh it and there's your lab results, you just kind of are, oh my goodness, there's my results that I've been waiting on. So just, an FYI, make sure that your buttons always down here are marked. And if they're not, then that's why you happen to not be seeing the item. Okay, a couple of things that I want to go through now are the custom rules. These are pretty important just because as they make your life easier in a sense that you're not having to go through and do extra clicks and add certain things in. Doing the custom rules actually takes care of some of these steps for you. Some of the rules that I would always suggest to have set up, and you get to your custom rules simply by going down to your options and you click on custom rules. A couple of the custom rules that you need to have set up are the ones that, like if you reject an image, it will send a to-do task. Because the way the system works is that, if you click on reject, you do have to put a comment in. But after you put a comment in and add it, it just takes that rejected document and kind of puts it in a holding tank here underneath the rejected tab. Nothing actually happens with that. You have to send it back to the person who scanned it in so they know that they need to perform some action on it, whether it be, refile it in the right chart because it was in the wrong patient's chart, or maybe the image wasn't clear enough that you could actually see it and you want them to rescan it altogether. Those would be reasons why when you reject something, you want that to go back to a user. To set those rules up, you need to make sure you have this screen open. It's underneath the tab Custom Rules underneath your Options button. And normally when I set these items up, I kind of have to talk myself through them so it makes sense when I say it out loud. So in the event type, your event type is what action you're performing. So are you accepting or you're rejecting a document? Well, I'm rejecting it. So if I'm going to reject, you basically want an image, an ICS image. So you more or less, when you reject a scanned image, that's going to be an ICS image. What do you want to happen? What action do you want performed? You want it to create a to-do task. Once you select those 3 items, you're simply going to click on Add, and you'll notice that it adds it up here for you. So anytime I reject any ICS image from this point forward, it's automatically, I can put a comment in here, select reject, it's automatically going to pop up with a to-do, a task. And that task will take all of the comments that I've put here and put it in the subject line of the task. So I don't even have to worry about now retyping what I've already written. I can see who scanned in the image by simply looking here. It'll say who scanned it in. I can send it back to that user. So that's one less click that you have to worry about, which is nice. Another one is that when you accept an order, so anytime you accept any of your orders, meaning lab results, what process, what action do you want to happen? And you want to launch a document. This is a new rule we've started doing probably within, I would say, the last 6 to 8 months. And we've been trying to tell people about this, and any opportunity we can take to share this, we've been sharing it. But we do advise you to do this. The reason why is that when we make this rule up, what will happen is when you accept a lab result, it's automatically going to create a lab result document. You want that process to happen. The reason why is because let's just say you only have your lab action or provider test action template to automatically pop up. You put those results on there. You have, you generate the provider test action document and you're done. Well, let's say your patient calls in 6 weeks and they've been out of town on vacation and they want their lab results, but they want them sent to the portal. If a lab result document was never generated, the user will then have to unlock the encounter in order to generate it. By you doing this, it actually saves a step so that no one ever has to unlock that encounter to generate a note. And that's what you definitely don't want, is people unlocking encounters. So what this will actually do is launch a document. What you want to do is have it linked to the encounter, because what it will then find the encounter in which the item was ordered on, and it'll lock that document into that encounter. Underneath the details, you want to look for the document that says lab results. Once you do that, you'll simply click an add. And now anytime I accept an order, it's going to create a lab result document for me. Once that lab result is generated, at that point I can click save, send it off to the patient portal if I want to. Or it just then saves in the patient's chart. So if somebody needs to come back and send it to the portal at a later date, they can do that as well. Another rule that I suggest is if you want to use the provider test action template. Again, this particular rule is really based on workflow in your office. So if you're in an office where the provider test action template is normally used to communicate with your staff, then set that rule up as well. What that rule would entail is anytime you accept an order, you want to launch a template, and you can select to item or to new. It's up to you. And then you can do the provider test action. A lot of times we do recommend new. The reason why is that for some reason, if that encounter that the order got, was on, was old and it got locked, this would, or if the results came back kind of late, this would prevent your, if you try to put this on an encounter that was locked, it would prevent you from being able to actually perform action on the template, which would then defeat the purpose. So new might be the way to go, but you would have to see what works best for you in your workflow. All right, so then after you create that rule, you can simply click add, and it would add it to this list. Now, for some reason, if I needed to go back and I needed to make a change, let's just say we did some customization and we did some customization to the provider test action template. Once you customize the template, that template then has to be renamed. So that's why you have a lot of templates that have the TPMG in front of it. Those are the templates that we've actually had to rename. So in this instance, if we had to do a customization, we would send an email out saying, hey, if you have this rule set in your PAQ, you need to go in and you need to update it. The way to update it is just to simply highlight it, and we would tell you the name of the template that you needed to change it to. Let's just say in this case it was the TPMG provider test action template. So what we would do is we would find the TPMG provider test action template. We would save it, and you just update it. And then it would simply update it for this particular issue. And then you could OK and get out and then keep on moving. But for training purposes today, I'm going to leave it at provider test action. All right, so let's go ahead and update it. We'll hit OK. And let's just say we want to go ahead and on this result, we want to accept this result. The minute that we accept this result, our background generator isn't working offline. Apologize for that. But the minute that we generate that result, what would then happen is it would generate the result. It would put that document in the chart. We'd be able to send it off. And then we could simply open up the patient's chart, and we could perform action into the provider test action template. What I'm going to do now is I wanted to just show you how it launched out of the provider test action, out of the PAQ, but I don't actually want to work in a real patient's chart in the provider test action template. So what I'm going to do is open up the provider test action template on a fake patient, but that way you can kind of at least see the functionality of it. All right, so at the top of the provider test action template, you will see one of the new features, the panel control. What this will allow you to do is anywhere, it's a nice feature. It's very similar if you see up here in the right-hand corner, the minimize, the maximize, and the closeout button. This is very similar to that. It minimizes and it expands everything. So it kind of collapses it, opens it. So what I could do is I could take all of these headers. If you notice over here, they all have a little up arrow. I could take them and I could collapse them all so that the test action template then becomes very small. And I only have to work with certain panels. I don't have to necessarily work with everything. But if I wanted to see everything, I could simply open it up and have everything open. Or I could close it and then just click on the panels that I wanted to access. So that's part of the panel control. You can cycle the panels as well. So you can take them and you can click on them and drag them. So if I wanted the action items log to be the first thing that I always see, I could click and drag that up to the top. But I could also use the cycle button and cycle things in which the order I want to see them to. If at any time you're unhappy with this view, you can always right-click and do panel defaults, and it goes back to what it initially was in the beginning. All right, so at the top of the template, you have your panel controls. You also are able to see the patient's appointment information, so their first appointment that they ever had, as well as their most recent office visit. If you're not satisfied with either of those, you needed to see any additional appointments, such as maybe future appointments. If you click on the little appointments hyperlink, you will get your patient appointments. Your patient's contact information, as well as their preferred pharmacy. And then down here, you will have all of the orders. Now, part of the workflow that we're showing you today is for things such as like pap smears, chlamydia screenings, things that come through your PAQ, maybe lipid panels, hemoglobin A1Cs. Based on your patient, they may have particular protocols in place. If they're a diabetic patient, they obviously have the diabetic protocol loaded. If they are a female patient within a certain age frame, they're going to have the standard health maintenance protocols loaded, and that would include the pap smear. That may include the chlamydia screening based on the age. So what you want to do is, let's just say your patient was a female patient between the certain ages for the chlamydia screening, and I believe it's like 16 to 24. So your patient is, let's say, 22. That chlamydia screening comes back through your PAQ. You would then accept that result. When you accept that result, the provider test action template opens. You'll notice right here where it says view all orders, it's automatically going to default to this view, and that's the view that you want it to be on. You're going to find your chlamydia screening on this template. You will double click on it. What will then open up is it's going to be your order management pop-up. On the top right-hand side, you will have a box that allows you to complete an order. Let's see if I can find a patient that actually has an order that we can complete. All right, so here's a perfect example of a patient that actually has lab orders in here. And let's just say that the order that this patient particularly had maybe was a chlamydia screening. That chlamydia screening came back, you accepted it, it then opened up the order management screen, what we could do is find the order for the chlamydia screen. Once we double click that order, okay, so the view of your all orders, once we're going to go down here, we're going to click on the lab orders. We're going to find our lab, whether it be a chlamydia screening or PAP or whatever came across. But we're going to just focus on, let's just say it was the chlamydia screening that came across. We opened it up, we highlight it, we click edit. What will then happen is the lab order management template will pop up. At this point, because you've gotten the results, you've seen the results, you can complete this order. The minute that you complete this and click save and close, if this was a result that would populate your protocols, at that moment, your protocol would get updated. So this is a very important part of your workflow, which is why we wanted to make sure we showed this today. When you click edit and you open up that result, again, all you need to make sure is that you select the completed box. This completely closes the loop on your lab result, meaning that the lab result was put in, the order was placed, the blood was drawn, it was sent to the lab, and the order has come back. So now this completed box can be marked. So once you open up your provider test action template, you simply select completed. If you at this point have no action that needs to be performed, then just click Save and Complete. At that moment, a lab action note will generate, or excuse me, a provider test action note will generate and save in the patient's chart, and you're finished. If you have something that maybe you would like your staff to schedule an appointment or make a referral on this patient, and that loop hasn't closed yet, then what you could do is utilize your My Phrases, stick some notes in here if you wanted to. Or you can simply come down here and you can just say, hey, I want you to send this patient a lab letter and repeat the test within 3 months. Well, an action still needs to be performed on this. So you necessarily don't want to finish this up until the front desk calls the patient or the clinical person calls your patient, whichever your workflow is in your office. So what you can do is simply click Save and Task. What it will do is save everything that you've put on this template, and you can task it to any particular user or users, and it will save the information in the note. All right, so at some point, let's just say you come back to this template, and there's a lot of correspondence in this grid box. If you click on the correspondence, you do have the ability to come down here, put information into this, and then click Reply to Sender. What it's looking for is the sender that initially initiated the task. So once anybody corresponds in this template as you're tasking back and forth, any action that's performed, you can highlight it. You can add a note to it and reply to the sender right here. When this process is completed, when all the loop has been completely closed, the last person on this template needs to make sure that they click Save and Complete. What that will do is it will close the loop on any test action. So you've now noticed, let's start over. PAQ, we started here. Once we clicked Accept, it opened up the Provider Test Action template. Once we opened up the Provider Test Action template, I came down here to my lab orders, found the lab result that I wanted to complete. I highlight it, select Edit, select Complete, Save and Close. Then what I can do, I scroll down. If any additional action needs to be performed, that's fine. I can add notes in using My Phrases. I can use the checkboxes. At this time, if I'm done, I can click Save and Complete. My note will generate. The process is all completed. And the great thing is that if I had guidelines loaded for my patient, and any of those guidelines or protocols were loaded into my patient's list, they would have updated the moment that I select completed. Again, just don't forget that you do have the ability at the bottom of the template to come down here, highlight an order, make changes to it and add additional items to it and reply to sender if you need to. As we get away from the lab action template, it's very important that you learn how to use this. We recommend go ahead and adding this into your preferences now and removing the lab action template so that this doesn't come to a shock to you when we upgrade to 8.3. Lab action template will no longer be available as it is being retired in the 8.3 KBM. I thank you for your time, and I hope you got something from this workflow. Have a great day.